Two of the crucial Eskom wage negotiations, it hit a snag from the get-go, with Eskom refusing to table its offer until unions lower their wage demands, which the cash-strapped parastatal has rejected outright. The National Union of Mineworkers is demanding a 15% wage increase across the board, as is NUMSA. Meanwhile, trade union Solidarity is demanding a 9% increase. Eskom still maintains that it will not make an offer unless the unions lower their demands. Well, for more on this, let's cross to our reporter Mbongeni Muthwa, who's standing by for us in Sandton. Thank you very much, Mbongeni, for joining us. So what's happening where you are?
Well, the parties are back inside. They resumed at 2 o'clock after lunch, and according to what we were told by the unions were going to go in there and individually place on the table that they reject the position that has been advanced by the Eskom negotiating team, which is to say that Eskom rejects all the demands that have been placed on the table by the unions. That's the salary demands, and of course the demands with regards to the conditions of service. That would be in regards to the benefits like your housing allowance and medical aid and so on. Apparently, there is a total of 18 demands combined by the three unions, which is NUM, the majority union, NUMSA, and Solidarity. NUMSA and NUM, in terms of wages, are demanding a 15% increase. Solidarity is demanding between 9 and 9.5%. Eskom is saying they placed on record yesterday afternoon to say that formally they reject all these demands, they can't accede to them. Eskom from yesterday wanted to present the financials of the company to lay bare what it has described as a perilous financial state that it is in. The unions would have none of it. Instead, they wanted a presentation not by the negotiating team but by the CEO or other higher-ups, like the board chairperson, to come and give a turnaround strategy to say, okay, fine, we understand that you are cash-stressed, but what is the strategy for turning things around? So they've been disagreeing on that, and they've been stuck on that. Now, the unions have managed to secure a meeting with the chairperson of the board, that's Professor Malihapuru Makhoba, tomorrow morning at 9 at a venue nearby here, not here. The three secretaries of the unions, that is of NUM, NUMSA, and Solidarity, will meet with the board chairperson to try and unlock this standoff that is here now, and then they will come back and brief their caucuses and decide on the way forward. But as things stand, there is bad blood between the unions and the negotiating team. The unions feel that, in fact, they say that this negotiating team is below par, it's incompetent, they want it to be replaced. That's one of the demands they are going to make to the board chairperson tomorrow morning, to say that Eskom must withdraw the team that is here and bring other people who are more competent. They are just not getting along.
Mbongeni, do you think that Eskom's strategy is a calculated one? I mean, how do you go to a negotiation and one party puts down what they want on the one hand, and then the other party says, well, we're not prepared to tell you what we're prepared to do until you lower your demands?
Actually, it's interesting that you raise that point, because the leader of the NUMSA delegation here, when we spoke to him when they adjourned yesterday evening, they finished around 6 o'clock, just before 6. That's what he said. He said the Eskom position is the same as placing a 0% offer on the table, because that's been the feeling coming into these negotiations and throughout the day yesterday, that Eskom has actually adopted the posture of the government, the state, which is that of a 0% increase for the civil service. So they say, even though Eskom did not say that formally yesterday, or even they're not saying that even now, but their posture is that of a 0% offer. So it could be that that's the Eskom strategy coming into here, but that's not what Eskom is saying officially. We spoke to the spokesperson of Eskom today, saying that Eskom, the team that is here is mandated to make an offer, and they will make that offer provided that the unions basically withdraw their demands, because their demands are just not acceptable to Eskom. They are not affordable. So they insist that for us to make an offer, to share an offer, you must revise your demands. You must lower your demands. So it's a very interesting strategy that Eskom is coming with into these negotiations.
Yeah.
Of course, it's open to a lot of interpretations, but formally, that's what they are saying.
Yeah. The picture that you're painting doesn't really augur well, for how things will turn out going forward. What's your sense from the unions, especially from NUM and NUMSA, about what they'll do should they reach a deadlock? Because they're going to meet with the chairperson tomorrow, but he's not necessarily mandated to negotiate. It's the negotiators who are mandated. He'll only just make them feel at ease, but they ultimately have to negotiate with the negotiators. What do you think will happen?
Absolutely, it's very, very interesting. That development is very, very interesting. Coming in on the second day, only on the second day of the talks, already you have a situation where the disagreement is being now escalated to the higher ups. The unions want board intervention. In the same breath, they are saying that they are willing to escalate this further and bring in or talk directly to the ministers that are responsible for Eskom, the Minister of Energy, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, and the Minister of Public Enterprises, Mr. Pravin Gordhan. In fact, Mr. William Mabapa, the Acting General Secretary of NUM, said it on record yesterday that they can even call the president directly himself to escalate the matter to him to get involved. And this is happening only on the second day of negotiations. So exactly what's going to happen, we will know by the end of this week, by Friday, because they are scheduled to continue tomorrow until Friday, and then they will resume again with the final deadline being the 3rd of June. So by the end of the day tomorrow, after the meeting with the board chairperson, that outcome is going to be very crucial in terms of the direction of these talks. And of course, Friday will also be very crucial in terms of the overall picture, in terms of, are we headed for a deadlock here, which could open a can of worms, the possibility of wildcat strike or acts of sabotage, which has happened in the past, that whenever there is a deadlock at Eskom, because it's an essential services, workers are not allowed to strike formally. You find now that there is sabotage that happens at various power stations and so on, workers venting their anger and frustration, and it becomes a problem for the country in terms of energy, the security of energy supply. It becomes a problem for the economy, investors, and so on. It's just, it becomes a mess, for a lack of a better word. So it's very, very crucial what's going to happen. The outcome of the meeting with the board chairperson tomorrow is going to give us a direction of where we're actually going with these negotiations.
Indeed. Thanks very much, Mbongeni, for that report. My colleague there, Mbongeni Muthwa. Let's take a look.